I'm Lord Culp, and I approve this message.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
We will no longer accept politicians who are all talk and no action, constantly complaining but never doing anything about it.
We need to remember that we are all American citizens and we stand for something that's recognized all around this world. We need to get back to that.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining me. If you missed my live from earlier today, be sure to check my channel. It's in reference to 9/11 and fundraiser for the firefighters and first responders. So thank you for joining me tonight. This special edition of Common Sense. Usually I do this show on Tuesdays, but today I did twice live. I wanted to do a live tonight to talk to you about some pressing issues that we have going on, including the mandates that are coming down from the dictator in the White House and Olympia. Our dopey President Biden has declared that if you run a company with over 100 employees, you could be fined $14,000 if they all don't get the jab, or the company has to do weekly testing on their own dime. If you are a government contractor or employee, you will lose your contract or be fired unless you submit. Thank you for the hearts and the thumbs up, you guys. The governor of Washington State is mandating masks and vaccines in keeping with his war against small businesses and individual freedom and liberty that he has kept ongoing for a year and a half. Remember 14 days to flatten the curve? Let me remind everybody that government isn't our nanny. It isn't our mommy or our daddy, and they damn sure aren't our doctor. Let me be very clear. There is no power granted in the Constitution for anyone in the government to mandate a medical procedure against your will, period. These declarations are illegal. It's nothing more than a radical overreach by government, and it should be condemned by anyone with a brain between their ears, no matter how they feel about the jab. The issue here isn't vaccines. No, it's not. The issue is whether we have a dictatorship or we still have a free country. If government is allowed to mandate that you put something in your body that you don't want and you didn't consent to, what can't they mandate you do? Where does it stop? And that's the core issue here. Don't get sidelined by what it is, a shot. Remember, this is about the individual and their rights. The individual right to decide what goes into or on your own body. How much more personal can it get? You are in charge of your body, not Jay Inslee or Joe Biden. People who are being mandated that they do something against their will have to make a decision. And the question is, do you own you or does the government? My suggestion to you is this: don't quit. Make them fire you and then join in with others for a lawsuit. I'm going to share a clip of a constitutional law attorney. Check this out. And I hope that you can see it or hear it. You might have to turn your volume up.
and they were putting regulations in place like that. So I think it's important to note that just because the courts are skeptical and are very put on their heels, so to speak, as to whether they want to rule against any sort of COVID measure, what it comes down to is the law. Judges, especially federal judges who are on the bench for life, don't have to necessarily worry about re-election. A lot of the state level issues that we've seen, a lot of those judges are elected, and now it's getting into the polarization of the bench, where they start to legislate from the bench as opposed to just uphold and rule on their interpretation of the law. So this issue is novel. A lot of the reliance has been on Jacobson, which was a Supreme Court case, I believe in 1914. It was an early case upholding vaccine mandates, and I believe the other case was in 1922 regarding school vaccine mandates. But at its core, it comes down to the balance of whether mandating a vaccine violates your fundamental rights and can do so under the test of strict scrutiny that is the highest level of review. It has to be the least restrictive means necessary, and it has to be to achieve a compelling governmental interest. That is the quintessential standard for this issue.
And I would take issue with, this is not compelling enough to make private entities, the owners of small businesses and medium-sized businesses, that's 100 and more, right? That's what he has dictated now. They will have to make their employees get the vaccine or be fired or test once a week with a negative test that they will have to include the cost. I don't understand how a president can do that. So my final question to you, Mike, is a simple one. If they're small business owners watching this program right now, and they have had enough, and they say, no, we are not going to follow this mandate, is there something they can do? Can we get a class action lawsuit going to sue the Biden administration from multiple employers, from multiple states, and take this to the Supreme Court and fight it all the way?
I'm sure there's lots of lawyers like me that are actively working on this issue. And what I can advise is to ensure that you abide by the law in exercising your rights. We do not need to have another summer of travesty. We do not need to have people revolting. I want people to understand that you can exercise your rights in a peaceable way, but that also doesn't mean that you're obligated to bow down when you have a tyrannical order just flourishing over you, your business, and your family. So what I would suggest is make sure that you stand up for what you believe in. Do not cave to cancel culture or peer pressure. And if anyone wants to reach out, they can get a hold of me. My website is yoderesq.com, or they can send me a message on either Twitter or Instagram. My handles are yoder, YODER_ESQ.
So it's yoderesq.com is the website? Okay, there you go, folks. You heard it. You can reach out to Mike. If you'd like to get in on a class action lawsuit, I think that's the way that we do it, because I know I've already received a bunch of messages from small business owners saying, hell no, I am not doing this. I'm not forcing this on my employees, and I'm not going to foot the bill to pay for tests, even if they're discounted. Mike Yoder, constitutional law attorney, thank you so much for joining us here on OAN. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
There you have it. If you have to rewatch that video, it will be posted as soon as I'm done to get the information, as long as they'll leave it up, right? As long as the powers that be don't delete it. You guys, I'm running for Congress to help put a stop to these federal mandates and return our country to the rule of the Constitution. Which begs the question, where is the person I'm running against? Where is Congressman Dan Newhouse in all of this? Where is his call for impeachment over this and the Afghanistan failure of Joe Biden? He was happy to join with the Democrats and impeach President Trump. Newhouse showed his true colors when he voted to unconstitutionally impeach the president, and then voted along with the Democrats to form the January 6th Commission, just to perpetuate Nasty Nancy's false narrative from the left. I'm running against Newhouse because he's weak and votes with the Democrats 40 to 50% of the time. In times like this, especially, we don't need a weak congressman representing Washington State. We are not getting what we paid for with Newhouse. He is just another politician who spent too much time in Washington, D.C. without a moral compass. He lost it if he ever had it. My compass points true north, and with the Constitution as the map, I will not get lost. And I'm not afraid to stand up for you. I stood up in 2018 to defend you and our constitutional rights, and I'll continue to do that as your congressman from Washington State. These tyrannical politicians want to play chicken with our rights. That's great. Let's see who flinches first. Do not submit. Do not give in. Do not quit. Stand up for America. My website is cultforcongress.com. Thank you, guys. Stand up for America. Good night.